In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we help you work out what is it that you really want from your business. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Today, we've got the big guns in the house. We've brought back into the house Mr. Warwick. Hello, Stuart. How are you today?
Hello, Ian. Great to be back.
Good. Right, today, big subject, and one that was actually came from one of our recent accountability pod calls. But the question is today, what is it I really want for my business? What does winning look like for my business? How's the journey of the MSP, going from literally your first customer, your first check to, multi-6, multi-7-figure MSPs that we sometimes hear and sometimes come across have lost their way because they've lost their personal vision and their drive and why am I doing this? And it's been a really interesting episode trying to get this together, hasn't it?
It has been because it comes up with every single person we work with. And in fact, every single person we're talking to, there is some fog around what is success? Where are we going? Where am I going with this business? Because it's kind of easy when you start out because you start out. You either accidentally take over a business because you're in it and the owner retires and you buy them out, possibly. It lands in your lap, or you see an opportunity and people start working with you. And success is like, well, just turning up every day and doing it. And suddenly you've got a business, you've possibly got a couple of techs working with you. And then you get to this point that we encounter, and that's what today's about, is, well, I'm busy. Okay, so if you're going to be less busy and build the business, why are you doing it?
And where are you going? And what does it kind of look like? So the question is when people have got, they as you say, they could potentially be in overwhelm, but they're just working in the business. We talk about this quite a lot. Why do people need a personal vision? Why do they need to know what's winning? Is it not just enough that I can just run this business, pay for a few holidays, pay for my kids to go to school, have a nice car, have a nice house, and is it all right for me to do that? Can I just truck along and do that?
You can, but I think there comes a point when we want more, and whether you call it comfort zone, but when you started the business, you were out of your comfort zone. It was like you had to earn so much to pay for the electricity, the rent, put food on the table for your family, and that was your motivation. And then you get to a point where it's comfortable. And human beings are designed to want to find secure, safe places where they're comfortable and they're happy. But this state of happiness isn't the end result. And we've spoken to so many multi-million exit MSP business owners who have all said the end result wasn't what they were chasing. Yes, they got a 7-8 figure check out of the sale process of their MSP, but then they were bored. And actually what they all realize, it's about the journey. So what does success look like for you on your journey of being an MSP business owner? And so if you've got to that 200,000-400,000 pound mark and you're busy and you're perhaps beginning to go, what's next? Do I do this for another 20 years? The same thing, being busy, because there's also a tipping point. Because the thing that changes that makes you go, ugh, I can't put up with this anymore, is because you've got to a tipping point, tipping point of so many clients that you can handle on your own, or you can handle on with just a couple of less experienced tech engineers. It's like, well, something now has got to change. And that's where the way we're wired hits a brick wall with perhaps what we want. Because now we've got to stretch ourselves out of being secure and what we know. We know the technology, we know how to do everything, we know our clients, to suddenly go, and we talked about this on every podcast, it's like, now I've got to let go. So if I'm going to let go, why am I doing it? And is it worth me letting go? And so you've got this whole friction going on, push and pull, yin and yang, be unsafe, be safe, be unsafe, by making a decision of what to do next. And when you get clear then on what success looks like in the future. And it might just be in the next 2 years, you can go, right, that's why I'm going to hire that finance person or that third line engineer for 45 grand because I want to achieve X.
Do you ever find that some people struggle to identify what winning looks like? So we'll sort of say, yeah, what does winning look like? Now it's really clear for us, on what we do, how we set this business out, and it was around a legacy and helping so many people and all of that kind of good stuff. And we know that most MSPs are inherently helpers. They want to help people. They want to help people with their technology because they know stuff that other people don't. But do you ever come across situations where people sort of go, I don't really know where to start with working out what I want? I'm kind of, how can we help people on the podcast who are listening to that going, I see what you're saying, right? It sounds all very interesting, but unless you tell me exactly what I've got to do or how I do this and why I need to do it, it's kind of not going to sink in, is it?
There's a really simple answer to that is work out what you don't want.
Love it.
Because actually it's hard to focus on what I do want because it could, I want 10 million quid in the bank. Yeah. Oh, that's not very realistic. I want a Lamborghini. Oh, and we start arguing with ourselves. And because that's not what most people want. They want to be happy, safe, secure, put their kids through great schooling, go on great holidays, have great memories, be healthy and happy, stuff that kind of money helps you achieve. But if you can't get past that question of what do I want because you get in your own way of it, so you just ignore it. Actually, if you start with, it's easier sometimes to say, well, I don't want. Yeah. Well, I don't want Lamborghinis. I don't want to build a £10 million MSP. Okay, so if you don't want a £10 million, what do you want? I want a really profitable small business with a great team that helps people where I can choose how many hours a week I work in it. Yeah. Maybe 1 day a week, 3 days a week. It's completely up to you. Suddenly, we're getting a bit of clarity. Yeah. So the next question is, what does a highly profitable MSP look like that isn't 10 million? Well, probably 1.5 maybe, or 1.2 with 20% net profit. That would be a great business. And because the MSP business model is such an amazing model with the recurring revenue, the recurring profit from a great customer base, is that once you've built it, it should sustain itself if you're any good. All you've got to do is work on keeping yourself relevant from a technology point of view and inspire your team to evolve the packaging and the offering such that you stay relevant. And easier said than done. But once you've got it to that level and you are that strategic leader, that strategic visionary, and I know many people on this podcast will go, what's one of them? Because I don't want to be one of them because that sounds corporate. But you have got a vision. Your vision was to set out and help people with your technology. You've done that. You're doing that. So what's your next step? And we've got a number of clients who've been kind of spent a couple of years moving away from break fix, trying to get their head around being a pure MSP business model. And the transformation in how they think about life and business in just 18 months of working on that transition where you're literally waiting for the phone to ring so that you can earn some money to fix people's technology, to one where the money is coming in on the first of the month, every month, and you're in proactive contact with your clients to talk about their technology roadmap and start planning the next phase of the next journey of their technology infrastructure and support. That doesn't take long, but 18 months is a huge amount of time to consistently work at shifting how you think about life and business. And those guys now have got profit. They're paying down debt on the balance sheet that they might have had from loans that they borrowed. And now they're properly in profit. And they're thinking, well, what do I do next? Yeah. And actually, that comes back to this question. Okay, great. You've made that transformation to that early stage of the MSP business model. What does success look like if we compound the success you're now seeing and that's possible? Yeah.
I love that. When I was just asked that question, you smirked and I thought, oh my God, what's going to come out of his mouth now? And I love that whole just start off with what you don't want, because when you were talking then, I was thinking, I don't want to be busy working 70 hours a week. I don't want to be dealing with all the technology because it's doing my head in. I don't want to be doing so it doesn't necessarily be I don't want to build this big business, or it can be all the things that you're not enjoying. So where you're getting stress and you're getting overwhelmed and you're getting moments and all of that stuff, write those down and that will give you
and it might be that question is, I don't want to be that dad that wasn't at the Christmas shows, the summer sports days,
Yeah,
the
simple
picking
as
up
that.
from school. So,
Simple as
okay,
that.
if you don't want to be, therefore, what do you need to do to allow you in your business to be that dad that is there at pickup
Yeah.
time and every sports day and every Christmas show?
Before we move on, I just want to roll it back a little bit. Just what you just mentioned there about, the dad or the mum who's not going to be around for the, for the shows and the sports days and all that sort of stuff. There's actually quite a deep challenge here around personal pride, isn't there? About fear of failure, fear of, look, I'm not good enough to be doing this. I'm not, I'm only running this sort of business. And when you start getting involved, you are listening to this podcast. Number one, thank you very much. We appreciate every single person. And number two, it means that you're in the community. You're in a growth-minded mindset around growing your MSP, and you will be seeing and hearing other people who you think are incredible, amazing, so successful. And sometimes being around those people isn't actually that helpful, because I'm feeling a bit bad about myself today. I'm not feeling very great, and I actually don't think I'm really worthwhile in this position. So let's touch on that kind of vulnerable sort of bit of this wasn't really what I set out. I'm really busy. What husband or wife are moaning at me because I'm working all these hours and things like this. How can we motivate and inspire those people to get some clarity around, right, let's move from there to where we want to be, and let's get focused on that winning question?
It's another simple statement, not a question this time.
And this is completely unscripted now. I love this because I'm fishtailing you all over the all over the place, Stuart. Keep up. Come on.
I'm trying. I'm getting there. Find your own tribe. And again, you might say, oh, what the hell does that mean? That's a bit of a cliche, but it's not. And as you were talking, I was thinking back to our last 8-week alignment, where there was some really quite vulnerable sharing going on about lost mojo and lost the way. And one of the things that came out of the back end of that was, today has been amazing because it's just reminded me again that I'm not the only one struggling with these things, and that it's okay to struggle. But when I'm struggling, it's not very far around the corner when I'm actually thriving and I'm on top of it and I've got my mojo. Yeah. And I have to remember that it's valuable for me to step out of my business and come to these whole day events because I need to get out of my own way. And we say that a lot on these podcasts, but it's what makes us love what we do. Because when you hear those statements and people are just reinforcing for themselves aloud that they shouldn't struggle alone, that they need to take the time out to come to what we do, to get the clarity, the confidence, the inspiration, and the mojo to go back into the foray of being a business owner, because being a business owner is very different to being an employee, or being employed, or being a consultant. It's unique, and it comes with a unique set of struggles. And to your point about people
getting vulnerable,
I'll
help you with the hard ones.
Thank you. And the simple statement is, find your own tribe.
Yeah.
Get involved with a group so you're not alone.
Yeah.
And suddenly that takes the pressure off.
We could sit here every single week doing a podcast and different things would pop up. And one of the things that just reminds us of what we do at the Growth Hub, and everyone can do this all over the world, is look back at what you've done. We stop our clients. There you go. I've got you now. And I stop the clients and in their tracks when they come, and we're going to look back at what we've achieved. Because, when you're looking forwards, you can see the horizon and everything's going forwards, but you move forwards at a certain rate, but you don't really know your progress and your success until you look back and you go, wow, look where I was and look where I am now. What a great place I'm at. Whereas if you're always looking forwards, then it's a lot harder, because you're never going to get to that horizon. You're never going to end up at, with the rainbow at the end of the rainbow at the end of the thing. It's the gold, isn't it? At the end of the rainbow. Anyway, that doesn't really exist. Sorry if I've ruined anybody's chasing rainbow dreams there or whatever. But it's around looking back and stopping at that progress and measuring that progress. And then, as Stuart says, making sure that you're not alone. And when you hear other people going, yep, I've been there, seen it, done it. Yep, just keep trucking through, or do this or do that. That's the amazing thing about this channel, isn't it?
And gives you energy being around, for most of us, being around other people, even if as technical business owners, we can be less people orientated than, technical, stuff orientated. Sometimes you have to be amongst like-minded people. And I think this is the thing. It's being amongst like-minded people where you can listen to people doing the same thing as you on a different day in a different, color, but it's the same stuff. And you can go, oh yeah, okay, I've been there, done that. And again, back to that 8-week alignment we did, and the list of reflective successes that one individual had, where previously at the start of that day, they were just like rabbit in headlights. And when they started to kind of release the anxiety and the frozenness, the list was enormous of what they'd actually achieved. And I think that was the catalyst for releasing their state of mind, for them to then realize, A, what they've achieved, and B, by sharing vulnerably and being supported and empathized with and having equivalent stories shared with them, what they were feeling wasn't as bad as it needed to be.
Really powerful stuff. Right, action time. What we got to do? How do I work out what I want from my business? What are the tips we've got for people today? What's the process?
Work out what you don't want so you can work out what you do want. And that brings you back to that old chestnut of start with the end in mind. What does success look like? Even if it's just at the end of this year.
Yeah, I was going to say time frames. How would you start off doing this?
Many people are thinking 3 to 5 years time, but sometimes that just seems too far away.
Yeah.
So let's start with, what would a great success look like this year? And it might be hiring my first engineer. It might be hiring someone to take over the finances. It might be getting my first PSA. Every MSP that's looking to scale, the first piece of advice is get a proper PSA integrated into your business properly. Don't just buy it and use it as a ticketing system.
Yeah, that is. I think we hear that every day, don't we?
We do.
We hear that every day. So we looked at start with the end in mind. Success looks like, break that down into personal and business.
Yeah, for sure. Like we talked about, you don't want to be that dad that's conspicuous by their absence at every school event. So if you look at, your relationship, you want to cook, 2 nights a week at home with your partner, then great, because you're always moaned at because you're never there for dinner and it's always in the microwave. It's like, what do I want from my relationship, primary relationship? What do I want from my kids, relationship with my kids, my family, my friends, my hobbies, my career, my business, if those two are separated, my health. Many MSPs get to a point where they have neglected their health. They're overweight or they're very unfit. They've got a really bad diet.
Go and listen to a podcast I've just done with Rachel Williams on that, because that will certainly give you a jab in the ribs.
And that blew my head away. Yeah. The last 14 years of a well-lived life in your 80s is unwell. 14 years of being ill, which can be avoided.
Yeah.
But you have to work that out in advance. Amazing. So again, what do you want from every area of your life? Even if it's just one small thing that you'd like, perhaps it's just one thing, it doesn't have to be this big wheel of stuff. And once you're clear about what you don't want and therefore what you do want, what does the plan look like? So what is that first step I can move towards not being passive? So being actively working towards that thing. So maybe it's, I need to put an ad in Indeed and see if I get any responses. And if I don't get any responses, maybe I need to change the headline of the ad or look at how it's been set up. And then if I start to get some responses, do I like that? Really simple things that put you in control of that next step whilst you maintain 95% of your time doing what you're doing today.
And it's around that gap analysis, isn't it? Because if you take, and I know that everybody would want to achieve this one, but if you take it, I want to be home earlier, I want to be more present at home, I want to, not worry so much about the business when I'm not there. How can I do that? What's stopping me from doing it? Admin. It could be the fact that you're not delegating to your techs. You might have the wrong people in the right roles, and you might need to make some changes around with your people. It might be that your systems, as we say, your PSA is not set up correctly. All of those types of things. So get into this real mindset of analysing the gap and what's the cause and effect of things that are happening, and what's stopping you from being able to achieve, go home early, take more holidays, take more profit, whatever it might be, and just break it down really simply.
And that little phrase there of what's stopping me, I think many don't recognize that actually there is something stopping them, because none of it's rocket science. Everything you just said is like, yeah, I want some of that. Yeah, I need to do all of that stuff. So why aren't you?
Yeah.
What is stopping you? And in many cases, it's fear. Fear of failure. Well, if I do that, it might not work out. Therefore, I'll lose money. Therefore, the business might fail. There's that whole magnification of disaster that we play out in our minds. Therefore, we stay, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, so we stay safe, so we don't do anything, even though we know what we want, we know what we want to do, but we're not doing it. So working out where fear is stopping you from making those small moves to change your life and change your business.
Just before we wrap up, goal setting. So you're going to go and set a goal. It's going to be too big. It fails. It doesn't work. The whole podcast's been a complete and utter waste of time. What's the 101 rules around setting goals? You've sat out and you've worked out what you want in the year. How do we break that down then into, maybe 90-day, maybe monthly chunk? How do people go around just resetting their goals and getting focused action?
I'd rather point people to accountability.
Okay.
Because it's easy to ignore ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think make yourself accountable, maybe to your partner, maybe to your kids, maybe to your business partner. Maybe you need to join a group where you are held accountable. The Tech Tribe runs accountability groups. Join one of them. Join up with some MSPs that you know locally. Yeah. Maybe there are the local Tech Tribe group, meetups. Find somebody, find a buddy. Maybe it's your best mate down the pub, and say, "I'm going to do this. Do it with me." I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think most people know what they need to do, and they choose not to do it. And I think it's accountability, fear of embarrassment, of not doing what you said you were going to do.
Brilliant episode, Stuart. It's been great fun sitting here watching you squirm your way through some of these questions that I've been sliding around at you. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Only just, it's so important to get clear about what success looks like for you, even if it's just this month. But more importantly, if you're running an MSP, get clear about what you want for you, your family over the next 3 years, and break it down. Yeah, break it down to what you want this year. And but start with what you don't want. I think it's so much easier to then work out what's in the gap there between what you don't want and what you do want, and just do it.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Stuart. Great show. Catch up with you and everyone else on the next one.
Will do.
See you soon. Oh, but one last thing just before you shoot off. And if you're curious about how this episode links with the ability to scale your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, accelerate to 5, then we want to invite you to come and take the MSP Mastery Quiz. And in just 3 minutes, you're going to get a 360-degree scan of your business where you can identify the 1 or 2 tactics that can help you find more time, engage and align your people, and help generate more leads in your MSP. It's really simple. Just click on the link in the show notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode, we'd love to get some feedback from you by means of a rating, review on Spotify or iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate every single one of them. Now you can go and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to catching up and connecting with you soon. All the best now.